Welcome back to the Pulpit and Porch. Whether you listened to part one last week or you're jumping in right here for the first time, we're glad that you're here. Now, we're in the middle of a conversation that, if we're being honest, hits a little closer to home than most of us would prefer. Because we've been talking about this idea that maybe you're not actually stuck. Maybe you're just avoiding the conversation, avoiding the decision, avoiding the step that you already know that you need to take. In part one, we unpacked how easy it is to confuse movement with progress, how you can be busy learning, preparing, even thinking, and still not actually moving your life forward. And if you heard the story that I told in Story Shift about being completely prepared and geared up for something that I never actually did, you probably thought to yourself, yeah, I've had a moment like that. So today, we're going to take it a step further. Because avoidance doesn't just keep you where you are, it starts to shape you. It affects your confidence, your peace, your relationships, and even at some point, your faith. The cost of avoiding it at some point is going to become greater than the cost of actually facing it. So today we're going to talk about that cost. And more importantly, how you can actually move forward. Not perfectly, not all at once, but honestly and on purpose. So let's talk about it. Welcome to the Pulpit and Porch. I'm Tony Marr, and with me as always is my friend Robert Kell.
Hey everybody, we are so glad you're here. The Pulpit and Porch is where we kick back, put up our feet, and have real conversations about life, faith, growth, and maybe even a little sports and pop culture.
If you're looking for a perfectly polished sermon, you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah, around here, it's more about those honest, heart-to-heart conversations, like the one you'd have on a front porch with good friends. Sometimes we stay on track, sometimes we take the scenic route.
And honestly, that's half the fun, isn't it? We dig into the highs, the lows, and all the in-betweens of living out your faith in real life. Along the way, we may pull up a few extra chairs and invite some friends onto the porch to share stories and ideas that just may change the way that you see things.
So whether you're chasing your purpose, building your faith, or just trying to live a little more fully, pull up a chair, grab some sweet tea, and join us. This is the Pulpit and Porch. We got a seat waiting for you. Do you ever, when you talk for a living, go, I need to be wiser with my voice?
Yeah, all the time.
Last night was not that moment.
Yeah.
Colby had a baseball game.
Colby's your son.
My youngest, and he's a senior, plays for a really good, and I mean, he's just thankful to be a part of it. There are 8 to 10 guys on that team that are incredible, and he gets to be a pretty substantial part at times to some things that are going on there. And so, like, this team has a legit shot if the stars align to play for a state title. And if they make the state tournament this year, which, things happen in sports, especially baseball. Sometimes somebody has a really good game pitching, and a team that's not as good shuts down a really, really, really good team. The fact that the Dodgers have lost a game this year,
They've lost 2,
is proof that happens.
Yeah, we're 9-2 on the season right now.
That a pitcher can sometimes slow down really good talent. And so, so last night Colby started against this team out of North Carolina that's a really good small school team. They just had guys walking through, and I was looking at somebody I do the announcing and run the music and walk up songs and all that stuff for our team. And I was looking at somebody else that was in the booth, and I'm going, well, these boys looked the part. I mean, they were big old country boys, and I mean, they were fit and they were huge. They had one little kid playing center field that looked like his pants didn't fit. I mean, he was tiny, but the rest of that team, they were corn-fed boys. I mean, they were huge. And Colby pitched, we went 7 innings. So he pitched 4 innings, gave up 1 run, had a few strikeouts. Some teammates made some incredible plays. And I'm just sitting up there in this booth, and the stadium we're in is a D1 college stadium that we're playing in. And so nobody can hear me. Like, the glass is in front of the booth. And so I can see down to the field and everything's great, but nobody can hear me. And so I am just like going bonkers and yelling and all this stuff. And my voice today is, I did not think about the fact that I thought I am singing on Sunday. I'm not preaching. I'm leading worship, but
That's even worse.
it will be. And I'm going, I can't, I gotta. And then we've got 4 games in 2 days on Friday and Saturday. And I'm going, I don't know. So hopefully Colby doesn't pitch a big game or something against like one of the other top teams.
You guys get a nice little road trip.
We do. We head out Friday, just go down, just me and Mel. Colby's with the team and he'll do his thing and then he'll play ball for, 24 hours, something like that. And then we'll head back home, but yeah, it'll be good. But my voice is absolutely wiped. So I'm glad this is a conversation today that you are, you're driving and I just get to ask questions. Hey, you told a story.
I tell a lot of stories.
You do, but you told one at the end of the last episode and just talked about camping gear. And I've thought about that at some levels just throughout the week. Oh, even though this morning I walked in and I was like, tell me again what the story was. Cause I just sometimes
it's really memorable to you.
It is in the fact of, I think everyone can relate to acquiring things that you are going to use, whether you are shopping Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace looking for free stuff. Like I'm going to go get pallets. I'm going to pile up pallets. I'm going to disassemble them and I'm going to make pallet art. And I'm going to paint it and I'm going to put a couple on my front porch and I'm going to take a couple of cute pictures and post them on social media. And when, I've only got 100 followers, but when 100,000 people go, oh my goodness, that's the most awesome thing ever. I can sell you one for $29.95 and I'll just start making all this art and I'll have them stacked up and I'll be a billionaire from pallet art. Or for me, one of the things I've done with this, and I think I've said this before. I have 15, just normal, go to Walmart and get a 5-shelf bookcase. I have 15 5-shelf bookcases slammed full of books. Now, I've inherited my dad's library and people have given me books throughout the years, but at least a third of those, I have 5 bookcases that I have just, I'll read this book, and I have stuck books. I have collected books that are paying off now that I actually do read, but that throughout 30 years of ministry that I've just gone, I need this. I'm leading here. I need this leadership book. And I'll thumb through it and I'm like, this is a great idea. And then the ideas were there. I had all the stuff. I got the resources. I prepared myself. I got up early. I'm going to do this. And I just never read. Everybody relates to that so well. And I would love to hear a couple of your thoughts unpacking that of when you think about avoidance, like what is it in us? And this isn't even a question. I'm just like asking some stuff here. What is it in us that whether it's, hey, we have the resources to buy these things, books or camping gear, or we have the time to just scour Facebook Marketplace going, who's giving away free pallets, or a million things in between that stuff, that we decide we're going to be a golfer, or we're going to do archery, or we're going to do creative memories, and we're going to put our photos into a fancy book, and we invest in all the scissors and the books and all the things. What is it that causes us to like have all these huge dreams, but yet at the end of the day, we kind of get to a place and we just go, I'm not going to take the step to really go do the thing that I'm just really passionate about.
I can only speak for myself, so I don't know what
that doesn't help any of the rest of us. You got to speak for all of us.
For me, it's a confidence thing.
Okay.
And so when you come to the issue of with my backpacking and camping gear, that I grew up in a place that we didn't have a lot of outdoorsy stuff. We didn't in the city of Las Vegas, where I lived for 26 years of my life. There wasn't. Now we had Mount Charleston and Red Rock Canyon and Lake Mead where you could go out and do stuff, but that wasn't a big part of my life growing up. I didn't do Boy Scouts. I didn't do any of that. I played sports and I rode dirt bikes through the desert, but I wasn't learning how to survive in the desert.
We had an episode where you talked about that for a minute, and it got deleted.
It got deleted, yeah.
Like I think the U.S. government deleted your section out of our episode.
But when I become interested in this, I'm diving into all the stuff. I would literally lay in bed at night and read a 60-year-old manual on how to survive on the Appalachian Trail with nothing but a matchstick and a screwdriver. And so I was genuinely interested in all of this. I was borderline obsessed with it and loved it and thought that I would do something with it. But I lacked the confidence in myself to be able to take all of the knowledge and resources that I had accumulated and productively apply it to my life. It was easy, it was safe to sit in the confines of my home and read about it and watch YouTube videos about it and play with the stuff in my garage that I'd accumulated. But to productively apply it into a real world situation was something that I just didn't have the confidence in myself to do. And so I never did. You can call it fear of failure. You can call it lack of confidence, lack of belief, whatever you would want to call it. I think that's what kept me from pulling the trigger on that. And I've seen that pattern happen over and over again in my life with different things where we come back probably once every 5 or 6 episodes to the idea of strengths and strengths finder assessment and all of that. One of mine is competition. And within competition, you and I were actually talking about competition a little bit before the show. With competition, one of the detrimental sides of that strength of competition is that if you're in a place where competition is going to rear its head and you don't think that you can win, you just won't participate. And that's me to a T. You've been inviting me to come play soccer with you guys on Sunday afternoons for 2 years. I love the game of soccer. I don't trust in my ability to go out on that soccer field and be competitive with guys that I haven't played soccer in 20 years. I played a lot when I was young, but I haven't played in 20 years. And so if I don't know that I can go out and win, then I don't want to compete. If I don't at least have a shot at winning, if I lose, okay, I'm going to be sour about it, and it's going to push me to strive harder. I'd be the guy that for the next 6 days I'm out running sprints and putting up a makeshift goal to work on, my long shot out there to get ready for the next week. And then I'm canceling all appointments and everything because this Sunday afternoon soccer game, I've got to go. But I don't have the confidence in my ability, so I'm just not going to go. Whereas basketball, I'm confident in my ability that I can go. So yeah, let's go play basketball because I'm confident in my ability to do that. And so in projects, I will write new programs, I've been writing a certain book for years now that I have a friend who has said he asks every time we're together, how's the book coming? Because I have this lack of confidence that it just doesn't feel right. It hasn't come together the way that I want it to yet. And so rather than put it out there to the world and risk the failure of it, I'm just going to hold on to it and not take action on it. So I think that for me, like I said, I can only speak to myself. It's the lack of confidence. It's the fear of failure, which I really don't have in most other things, that I'm not afraid to fail. I think that we learn a lot from failure. But when it comes to something that I just don't know that I have the resources, the knowledge to be successful in that, then I'm going to pull back and I'm going to avoid. And that's not healthy.
So avoidance, it really feels safe in the moment, but kind of just really destroys, maybe erodes things over time. And like you're talking about this whole idea about how avoidance kind of quietly damages confidence. And so we avoid things because of a lack of confidence in ourselves, which ultimately starts to play a part in us losing confidence in other areas of our life. And And those things can come from a lot of different spaces. Like, I think some people would, ask the question of, so Tony, if you grew up in an area where there was no Appalachian Trail, which by the way, if people do not understand the Appalachian Trail, like it may not be quite like the Oregon Trail video game we all used to play where you're going to die of dysentery like 3 days in, but it's no joke. Like it's a legit, like people, it's a serious, serious trail, and people die on it every year trying to hike from Georgia to Rhode Island. Is that right?
I think so.
I think that's the way that it goes. People die every year hiking this trail from wild animals, from poor choices, sometimes temperatures and things just go. So some people would go in just looking at your specific illustration, not necessarily this, but we would all have our own illustration. Why would you want to look at doing something at 35, 40 years old that you grew up in an area where that was not even a part of your life? And so like people would go, I can understand you not having confidence because you didn't grow up around it, but still it doesn't change the fact of how it kind of erodes things and how it starts to tear things down. So the question kind of comes in then is, why does doing nothing often create more anxiety than doing something inside of us when we get to this place of like, hey, it doesn't matter why you chose to do or not to do these things. Why does it create more anxiety when we tend to sit back than when we go forward?
Because it doesn't go away. The thing doesn't go away. The task that needs to get done, the conversation that needs to happen, it doesn't go away. And what happens is it quietly plays over and over in your head in the background. And it becomes bigger than what it actually is. The more that you avoid it, the more that you just let it stew in the back, knowing that it's there, that it has to be done at some point, then the situation, our mind builds it into something bigger than it actually is.
How does that so what is that relief? And I want to say, what does it feel like? I may be asking an unfair question here, and so you can just deal with the feel like part, but like, what does it feel like when that happens? But like, is there something even deeper that's going on inside of us when we actually accomplish something and that relief starts to come through? Is there something so much more than just that exhale of finishing something?
Yeah, I think we feel accomplished. We feel proud of ourselves that we did the hard thing. We made the difficult choice. We took the first step. We tackled the task that needed to do, the thing that had been causing us so much anxiety and fear had eroded, as you said earlier, so much of our self-confidence and self-trust. I think it's trust in ourselves that erodes when we continually put off something that we know that we need to do. That I did it. And you get that bit of confidence back, that little bit of trust begins to rebuild. So I think that's a huge thing for us. And it's almost every single time that when you finally do the thing, you finally take the step, the relief is immediate. And almost every time, Robert, it wasn't nearly as bad as you thought it was going to be as you built it up to be inside of your head.
I think about, and you talk about books like this probably a little more than I do. And there's some general or lieutenant colonel that wrote a book, and I think the title of it is Make Your Bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great book.
And he works through, and I have not read it. I've just watched YouTube clips and reels on it. But you have read that book, mm-hmm. and you talk about these types of things. You've read several other books by military leaders and high level CEOs and executives that talk through these initial steps. Like, why does doing something as small as making our bed prepare us for doing something as huge as spending a week on the Appalachian Trail?
Because small wins create confidence. And they let you know, something in your subconscious lets you understand that today is, and that's why he says, make your bed first thing every day, so that you've already started your day with a win. And not only have you started your day with a win, but then when you come back to bed at the end of the day, you're not coming into a mess. your day could have been a complete mess. It could have been a disaster relationally, financially. It could have been just a complete train wreck of a day, but then you come to bed and your bed is made. And not only are you coming into something that's structured and organized and peaceful, but you're also reminded of that win that you had at the beginning of the day. And so there's huge benefits emotionally, mentally at the beginning of the day, and also a payoff. It's going to pay dividends at the end of the day as well. And so what that does is you've already got your mindset steered in the direction that I'm a winner. I'm accomplishing things today. I accomplished this small task today. Now I can bite off a bigger task when I get to work in this conversation that I'm going to have. And it just gets your mind in the right state of mind, the right frame.
I love what you're saying there, in the right state of mind, because really what this does is when we do something, when we start to do the small things, Craig Groeschel talks a lot about this. I think it's really, I tell people all the time, like if you're trying to write a book on leadership, or especially about leadership with the mental consistency and things, like you should probably just read the 72 books that Craig Groeschel has written and go, does the world need another one? Because it probably does, by the way. Write that book, man. I'm telling you, do the big thing, do the hard thing. But this is what Craig talks about. And he's just like, add a new habit every year, because the small things make the most difference. And the thing about doing something like making your bed, or just those little small things, like we talk about, flossing or whatever it kind of comes down to, all those small things really start to create a positive mentality. And it moves us out of passivity. I never know. It's like Nevada. I never know always how to put the emphasis on the syllable, but it moves us out of being passive in life.
Appalachian Trail.
If you say Appalachian, I'll throw an Appalachia. I just think that was one of the best memes I saw when I'm trying to, what was it, March Madness a few years ago? Somebody made the team from Appalachia, and there was something going on, and people were just mispronouncing that word all the time. And I'm going, come on, people, be better.
That's how I feel with Nevada.
But we just kind of, this long-term cost of being passive is such a big, and when we do small things, it moves that needle. And so like at that same time, so if it moves the needle when we are not passive, when we are intentional, how then does avoidance affect our identity over time?
Yeah, you start to see yourself as someone who hesitates, someone who doesn't follow through. And that becomes the narrative that you tell yourself that you live out of, that you don't follow through on things. And no one wants to be that guy or that girl.
No, we don't. So kind of moving into some thoughts around like faith and how this connects to our spiritual journey and following, for you and I, following Jesus, and what that looks like. Like avoidance isn't just practical. It's a very spiritual thing.
Sure.
So, man, there's so many stories. And I think if you don't have stories like this, it's probably,
Scripture's full of these stories.
It's crazy. So when, Tony, God asked you to do something uncomfortable that you delayed? I mean, I don't have any of those stories. Like, I've always been obedient.
I think for me, most of the time, it's around conversations that you know that you need to have, a step of obedience that you know that you need to take. And it's just keep telling myself, not yet. Now's not the right time. Now's maybe tomorrow. And it's just disobedience, that I know that it's something that needs to happen and just don't do it. Just keep putting it off.
So here's a beautiful question that I think is incredibly insightful, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Because again, I don't have problems with this, but I'm sure all of our listeners do. Why do we expect clarity before obedience instead of through obedience? Because I mean, I think that's a big part of like the reason we hold back and like avoid things is because we want more clarity before we step. Why do we seem to have it backwards?
It's because we want certainty without any risk. We want to know that this is the outcome that's going to happen without having to take any chances. But the truth is that's just simply not how God usually works. God almost every time gives direction, but doesn't give us the full roadmap. He doesn't give us the full blueprint on how this is all going to play out. He just says, I just need you to go and be obedient and let me do the work in you. Let me guide and direct and show you what's going to happen next. Not many times does he give us the full 30,000 foot view of what this is going to turn into. And that risk is scary. That unknown is terrifying.
So with like, I totally agree with that. And we just know, like, I loved how you said, like, we want the reward without the risk. We want to know that there is success before we take any step whatsoever. And so we avoid moving forward because of we don't have, we feel like enough information. But how does that affect our willingness to be obedient to conviction?
Yeah. I think it's this way with a lot of things in life, that the longer that we can avoid something, or the longer that we can live in a situation, the longer that we can ignore the conviction, that the quieter that it's going to get. And so the more that I can just kind of push that out of the way, then the quieter, the less stress that I'm going to feel, the less guilt that I'm going to feel for not doing it. Now, it's not gone, but we train ourselves not to respond to it. And that's the way that we are with so many things in life. I think that's the way that we are with sin, that we've got this little thing, and the more that I do it, the more that I live in it, the less sensitive that I become to the conviction that I have that this is wrong, until it just becomes normalized. And then we don't even think that it's wrong at all. And with avoidance to God's calling on our life, the longer that we can delay, the longer that we can make excuses and push it back, the quieter that call becomes, the quieter that voice becomes, until eventually we can just write it off altogether.
You'd mentioned a verse in James 4, and it just gets in the conversation, kind of starting in verse 13. It just gets into this whole, so what about today or tomorrow? What about, like, how do we, and gets down to verse 16 and says, if as it is you boast in your arrogant schemes, all such boasting is evil. Just kind of going, oh, I have all these ideas, I have all these thoughts, I have all these things, and look at how great this is, and tomorrow, I'll get to it. And then verse 17 is the verse you were talking about and things, and it says, if anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. And when I'm looking at these things, like it's really that whole little section that we've kind of clumped in, these 13 through 17 here. It starts talking about today or tomorrow. Like, I'll get to this later. But Scripture talks about, like, that life is a vapor. It's here one second and gone the next. And I know that, like, we think, oh, I've got 70, 80, 90 years to live. But we see people every day well below that age that don't make it to that point. And life is just here and then it's gone. And we sit in these moments where we go, oh man, I'll get to that. There's just other things. And we avoid stepping when we know we should. We know we should take those steps. We know that we should be faithful and obedient in these things. And so, like, I don't I mean, I understand the long-term cost of being passive and avoiding the next step could be the fact that you never get to step into something that God really has for you. Because, there could come a point in time that, like, this is super extreme. God wanted you to be an NBA player, but you didn't start practicing till you were 40. Well, you may be a really good YMCA, Tuesday, Thursday afternoon player at some point in time, but you're probably not going to get a run at the NBA. But maybe at 14, at 12, if you would have been obedient, you could have. In more real life situations, being the husband or being the spouse, the husband, wife, being the parent you should be, being the child, the sibling, the employee, the boss, all of those things, like being the neighbor, the friend, typically all the things we yearn for are connected to some type of community, and the things that we want to do, we feel like add value to other people. So, like, what is the long-term cost? More than just aging out or death itself, what's the real long-term cost of staying passive?
Like we said before, I think that you lose trust in yourself. You're going to lose trust in yourself. You're going to lose confidence in yourself. You're going to lose faith in your ability to accomplish anything meaningful in life. And your self-worth will slowly deteriorate.
I think that one of the things I think about with this is you're just thinking about identity. There are things in my life that people have told me I'm not good at. And I feel like that some of the things that really stir inside of me bump up against some of those things. I want to do blank, but somebody said I'm not good at this. And to do this, I would have to be good at this. So I must not be capable of. And I think that, like, getting my identity, like getting in my brain that I understand who I am more than God understands who he designed and created me to be. And that some random person's voice doesn't, I think I've said before, and I've definitely heard before, I think I've said on here before, I typically try not to take for criticism from somebody I wouldn't take advice from. And I try and hear all the things that I can. I try and be respectful in that, but I tend to try and not take criticism from people I wouldn't take advice from. And I think that's life. That's the thing, is like, it creates in us, when I take criticism from every person who says it, or I take like, oh, you think this about me, so it must be true. And they've known me for 10 minutes. That just, it shapes and it causes this avoidance in this step in me. What's a step of somebody, like if somebody's struggling right now, that they, like a step of obedience that they should take, that they know they should, how would you encourage them or help them to kind of maybe kick off some of this identity stuff and move forward?
I think for most people that are listening to the show right now, you already know what that thing is. It's the thing that popped into your mind the moment that we started this conversation last week. That's usually the thing that you need to be looking towards. And so it's just, we used the statement a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember which episode it is, but it's one that I've used a lot throughout my life, is that it's a whole lot easier to steer a moving car than a parked car. And so often it's just getting started. It's just taking that one step and doing it. You know what you need to do. You know what you should be doing. Just do it. And as we talked about last week, if you don't know what the steps are, then you're waiting. Okay. You're waiting. You're not delaying. And so there's a big difference between waiting and avoidance. And we talked about that a lot last week. And so if you don't know the steps, you've got this thing that you know that you need to be doing, but you don't know how to do it. You have the conversation that you know that needs to take place, but you don't know what to say. Then you're not avoiding. Okay. You're still in the waiting stage. You're still in the processing stage. You're still in the learning stage. You can sit in that for a while, but when you know, all right, I am supposed to start this business. I know exactly what needs to happen. I've mapped out. I've got a business plan. I've got everything ready to go. It's all done. I know all the steps that need to be taken. and I'm just not doing it. That's avoidance. And so just do the thing. Just do the thing. My wife heard Mel Robbins speak and then read her book, the thing that really kind of launched her, the 5-4-3-2-1 principle. And I'm not sure if you've heard all of that.
I haven't heard all 5 of them.
That she was in a place in her life. It's her mantra. Like we just had the Artemis rocket launch,
Yeah.
and they count it down. And she was in a place in her life where she was saying she was stuck. She was having trouble getting out of bed. Cleaning her house was not getting done. Doing things that she needed to do for work were not happening. And so she was falling behind on tasks. She knew exactly what she needed to be doing, but she felt like she was stuck. Well, according to our last 2 episodes, we would say you're not stuck, you're avoiding. And I think if I remember correctly, she actually watched a shuttle launch laying in bed under her covers at 1:00 in the afternoon. I may be getting the story a little bit long. And she said, I just took that mantra. 5-4-3-2-1, do it. 5-4-3-2-1 launch. 5-4-3-2-1 launch. And there's something that happens within the chemicals of our brain that when we have that, we start that countdown, that when we hit that go, 5-4-3-2-1 go, 5-4-3-2-1 launch, that your brain wants to trigger something to say we're actually going to do this. And so maybe it sounds so simple, but she took that little phrase, that little idea, and did a TED Talk on it, and it launched her to become the #1 podcaster in the world and selling millions of books all over the place and becoming an expert in self-development and motivation because of one simple conversation that she had with herself and one simple step that she made. So I'm not saying that it's as simple for you as just counting down in your head, 5-4-3-2-1, go. But you've got to start somewhere. If you know what you need to do, you've got to get up and go. Stop avoiding it. You're not stuck. You're simply just avoiding doing the hard thing. And that's not going to get you anywhere in life.
So it doesn't require perfection. It requires decision.
Yeah. Make the decision.
So how would you kind of speak to, like, if someone's got that one thing they've been avoiding that you need to do?
I mean, it's as simple as send the text, make the call, do the thing, block out the time. You don't have to completely solve the problem. You just need to start it. Just start.
I was talking to a buddy the other day that we were just working through, really it was just some faith development stuff. He's really growing in his faith, incredible guy, and just loving his family well. I mean, just great husband, great leader inside of the things that he's doing, but he's just finding it hard to stay focused. And just through some text threads, he's like, hey man, would you pray for me? And I was like, well, absolutely. And he started to share why. And he's like, I'm just like in this Bible reading plan, I'm finding myself just being like a day behind here and there. And I'm going, well, one, dude, we're 100 days in. I mean, just about on the reading plan. If you're a day behind, there's some grace, man. Like this Saturday, get up 30 minutes early and drink a cup of coffee and just read 3 chapters of the Bible. You'll be fine, man. It's okay. Like God's okay. I mean, he's not angry at you. And he was just like, yeah, but I just like last night I deep cleaned my house, and I'm going, you literally just, in my brain, I'm going, you literally told me a week ago, like 5 days ago, actually, we had an hour phone conversation, working through some stuff. He's a big part of my life and in some things that I do at the church and stuff like that. And we spent like an hour on the phone talking through all of this stuff. And he was like, yeah, I'm deep cleaning my house. I'm like, so within 5 days, you deep cleaned your house twice?
Can I get him over here?
Word. That's what I was thinking. I mean, it's like watching Big Bang Theory. And there's the episode where, Howard and Bernadette, their closet's really a mess. And Howard's like, we could just let Sheldon accidentally come in here. And he loves organizing stuff. And Sheldon makes Bernadette mad at dinner. And she's like, show him the closet. And then he spends the entire night cleaning the closet. And so I'm like, yes, just like, I'm going to get my friend over to my house and just go, hey, I'm not sure. And just let him go at it. And he was like, could this be a problem? And I said, it absolutely is a problem. I said, is cleaning your house bad? No. I said, is deep cleaning bad? No. I said, but if you're deep cleaning and knowing him, I know what deep cleaning means. It's not like, you know, I walk through with a feather duster daily and go, oh, there's a little bit of dust. And once a week, I actually get the Pledge or the Windex out and clean the stuff. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm actually getting the fingerprints off. It's going like, is the table aligned perfectly? Did I get the dust under the rug? I mean, like he is deep cleaning. Like when he goes to clean his room, he doesn't start with just, oh, hey, I need to organize everything. I need to empty everything out, clean out from under the bed, empty the closet, clean the shelves, clean the floor, and then put everything back in. He's like, could that be me, basically his words, not mine, misprioritizing what's necessary in my life? And I said, it absolutely is. And he's like, I just, he fixed himself. I didn't have the ability to fix him at all. He fixed himself. And I think that's one of those things is that like when, like it's easy to find things to avoid what you need to do. And I'm going to sound like a terrible husband and father for just a brief second. But if you spent 10 hours with your family in a day, and you get to a point, 6 hours, maybe 10 hours would be a really long day. It's about time to go to bed in my life. I'm barely up 10 hours. I got to sleep. But if I've spent 6 hours with my family and we get home and everybody's kind of floating around and it's like we could watch a movie, but I really need to spend 30 minutes reading and working through something for the sermon that's coming up, or I need to play through the songs for this Sunday just one time and refresh my brain, make sure the calluses on my fingers are still building and doing. Like there's something important in your life. I need to return an email. I just kind of look at this and I go, it's one of those moments where I think that we can get to a place that we feel like we're doing the right thing, but we're really just avoiding the best thing. And it doesn't mean that we're doing bad stuff all the time. Sometimes we can be a part of our family. We can be doing things that matter. We can be doing some things that are really critical. But like we've also got to prioritize the fact of that our families need us to do a good job at our job because that's how we provide. It's like, you know, our families and our friends need us to be present in some other spaces because that is how we navigate and work through other parts and things. And so it's just this whole, like I said, it's easy to start avoiding things and all at the same time really kind of miss, like I said, that bigger picture of stepping forward. So,
yeah. One other quick thing that I want to add to this is that you don't need to see the entire path before you get started. You just need to see the next step.
Yeah.
So I was having lunch the other day with a friend of mine who's a author, and he's working on a new book. And he was explaining the story to me, and he's talking through the plot, the characters. He's basically telling me his entire story. And as he's telling it, I'm getting really engrossed in this story because the way that his mind works just blows me away sometimes. I don't know how he comes up with the ideas that he comes up with. And he's got me on the edge of my seat as we're sitting in this restaurant, and I'm leaned in, dying to know how this is going to end. And then he just stops and said, and then what happens? And he says, I don't know yet. I don't know where it's going to go from here. He said, I've been sitting on it for a couple of days and I just don't know what pivot is going to happen here, what decision this character is going to make. And I'm like, how can you get to this place and not know how the story is going to end? And he said, you just got to start writing and then it's going to come to you. And so often I think that we don't want to start something because we can't see the conclusion. We don't know how it's going to end. You don't need to see the whole roadmap. You just need to take that first step.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that's part of my thought too around just doing life with somebody who can come along the journey with you. And so you're a writer and a storyteller, you know, the buddy of yours you're sitting around with, you know, an author, writer, does those things. And it's someone that you can kind of see, especially I think, you know, imagine this, the Bible has some wisdom in it. Like the Barnabas, Paul, Timothy mindset and ideology of just having someone who's ahead of you in the journey, someone that's kind of alongside you, and then someone that you're helping bring along. And I think those are things that are just really, really key inside of this. And so, it's so helpful. And with your friend, I know there's things that both of you like are ahead of each other in. Like he's ahead of you because he's a New York Times, writer and like done this whole thing. And you're kind of getting there, but there's things in life that you're ahead of him on that you help him bring him in. And I think community is just such a big deal because when I try and do things by myself, it's easy to hide. But with other people, it helps move it there. So,
hey, let's have some fun, close out this show, and do a segment that we introduced a couple of weeks ago. You just lost your glasses.
I just threw them on the floor. I'm done.
You don't want to do this?
You
don't want to do this?
Segment. I can't do it if I can't read it.
Well, there's nothing for you to read. I'll simply ask the questions, and I know that people are thinking it's truth or trash, but no, we are going to jump into Fork in the Road.
Welcome to the Fork in the Road. Two paths, one tough choice. Which one would you choose?
All right, so here's the deal. We throw out two different options. You're at a fork in the road. Which direction, which path are you going to take? Would you rather always know exactly what to say, but say it too late, or always say the wrong thing, but at the perfect moment?
So you're talking about be me or be somebody else? I would probably rather know what to say.
Probably the same thing for me. Yep. Would you rather be incredibly successful, but always a little anxious, or be completely at peace, but never fully reach your potential?
I mean, is that what I would want or what the Bible says? Because I don't know that I can choose the anxious one and be like, go, hey, God, I really trust you. So like deep down, I would want to choose the anxious and be able to do some cool things. But like, I think in reality, I should choose like, I think, and I would struggle with some of that, but I would go with the not anxious.
See, peaceful. And I would go the other way, that I would struggle more with knowing what we've been talking about for 2 weeks, that I'm not reaching my full potential because I'm scared of a little uncomfortable.
I think there's too many theological conversations inside of that. I actually don't think you could even get close to your full potential living inside of anxiety. And I think that if you had true peace and you could really sit in it, that you would be so maybe more daily.
Anxious isn't the right word, maybe stressed, but always a little stressed. I wrote these so I can change the words if I want. Be incredibly successful, but always a little stressed, or be completely at peace, but never fully reach your potential.
Yeah. I mean, if we remove the theology side of it, I'm probably okay. Another problem.
Mm-hmm. Just did it again.
I'm going to be honest. We've got a problem
It's back.
We got a problem over here too.
Do we really?
This is like, I've never seen it flash before.
All right. Would you rather give up coffee forever, or only be allowed to drink decaf for the rest of your life? I don't drink coffee, so I'm just sitting at the fork in the road waiting on a ride to come to take me back the other direction.
I love coffee so much. And there's so many moving pieces to this. I would almost rather not have coffee. But I probably would choose decaf just because I like coffee a lot.
Be respected by your kids, but not really liked, or be loved and liked, but not really respected?
I'll probably go respected and not liked. What would you choose?
Probably that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, though. Lose your remote every day, or only be able to watch whatever is already on TV?
Isn't that the same thing?
No, you can't find the remote. You finally find it. You eventually find it, but the looking for the remote. Oh, I hate looking for the remote.
So you lose your remote, but you have to look for it.
Yeah.
Like, these are things that like you need to ask other people in my house, because I don't lose things. And so this one doesn't resonate with me. I'm not going to watch this, whatever's on TV. I'll find the remote.
Always feel confident, but often be wrong, or always doubt yourself, but usually be right?
Oh, I'm doubting and right. I would choose that all day long. Hey, so we want to get to the hard question. And we just want to ask you, like, what are you avoiding and what's it costing you? And so just 5 things we want you to think through. Like, what's one conversation you've been putting off? What decision are you delaying right now? Where are you choosing comfort over growth? What would your life look like in a year if nothing changes? And what would it look like if you acted this week?
Well, that is all the time that we have for this edition of the Pulpit and Porch. Let me leave you with this. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another book. You don't even need more advice. You probably already know. You know the conversation. You know the decision. You know the change. The question isn't clarity. It's courage. Because avoidance is sneaky. It feels like protection. It feels like wisdom. It feels like not yet. But over time, it costs you. It costs you confidence. It costs you peace. It costs you growth. And eventually, it costs you the life that you could have led. At some point, you have to decide, am I going to keep managing this or am I going to face it? You don't have to fix everything today, but you can take one step. You can make the call. You can have the conversation. You can tell the truth, take the risk, start the thing. Because courage doesn't show up before you move. It shows up because you move. And the life that you've been praying for might be waiting on the other side of what you've been avoiding. Like the Pulpit and Porch, subscribe, share, follow, and we'll see you next week right here on the porch.